Hello everyone. In today's video we are going to see about what is corrosion, what are the causes of corrosion and the effects of corrosion. So what is corrosion? Generally we say in short terms we'll say rusting of iron, for example. So that means the actual layer or the actual composition of the metal is weared away. That means it is gone. So what happens because of this corrosion only, the metal will lose all its properties and it will eventually break down. So the surface of almost all the metals began to decay. That means they began to go away, wear away. So that depends upon the type of metal and the conditions in which the metal exists. So for example, if you take iron and if you place this iron in water and in water with a good amount of moisture and a good amount of air, it will easily get corrosion. So this is the condition where the iron will get easily undergo the process of corrosion. So the corrosion or the length of the corrosion or the period of the corrosion, it depends upon the type of metal we are using and the temperature and the conditions we are placing the metal. So in which medium we are placing, are we placing it in the correct medium and in the correct substance and at the correct temperature. So all this will matter when it comes to corrosion. Now the process of decay metal by environmental attack. So this corrosion is completely by the environment only, because in presence of water or in presence of moisture and in presence of air only, the metal will get corroded. So this is completely the environmental attack. So based on the corrosion only, what we will if a metal is going to undergo corrosion process, then what we will do, we will take the preventive measures just to make sure that it will not undergo the corrosion process. So we will see how they will make sure that the particular metal is not getting undergone the process of this corrosion, how it will be done. All those techniques also we'll see, but now let's concentrate on this. Okay, now what are the metals which undergo the corrosion and which will convert to oxides, hydroxides, carbonates, sulfides, etc. So remember this point, that whenever a metal undergo corrosion, it will not produce new substance or new metal. It will produce its oxides and hydroxides, carbonates, sulfates, etc. So if iron is undergone corrosion, it will still produce iron related substances only. It will not produce some other lithium or carbon. So it will produce all the substitutes of the iron. For example, iron will undergo the corrosion to form the reddish brown color rust. So the basic and the common example of corrosion is rust. And what is our chemical formula is Fe2O3.3H2O. So this is whenever the iron undergo the corrosion, this is the formula of the rust. Okay, and when the copper undergoes corrosion, it will form a green film of basic carbonate. That means it will produce a outer layer which is of green film and which can be removed. This is occurred on the copper related substances. So whenever you see a particular substance is having this green film, then you can say that particular metal is copper, and when it is reddish brown in color, you can say that particular metal is iron. So other metals also will be of similar this type only, but the basic how to identify which metal has undergone the corrosion is by observing the colors and the state of the metals. And now we'll see causes of corrosion. So why the corrosion happens? So all the metals will be in the nature itself. So in presence of temperature and in presence of the particular content in the moisture of environment, or when the metal is in the form of combined oxides, that means if a metal is not pure metal and it is mixed with some of its oxides, then there are more chances that that particular metal will undergo the corrosion. So this kind of corrosion, where do we find is whenever a metal is placed in the environment which has a stable temperature and stable air and stable moisture. Okay, so these are the main causes of the corrosion. And whenever these pure metals are in the excited states, that means whenever this metals in we know that excited states is when all the electrons of a particular metal are loosed, and it is uh, trying to gain the metals from or gain the electrons from the other substance. In such cases, this corrosion will happen. Like for example, if the iron, if we take Fe plus 2, so here it is in the excited state, it has lost its electrons. Now when this iron will get rust, means when the metal is in this state, so since it has loosened its electrons, it will try to gain its electrons from the environment or from the other metals. So in that process, so in order to make sure that it is balanced with these two electrons, it will get combined with the water, that means moisture you can say, and air, and in presence of some temperature. So in all these temperatures, the iron will gain its electrons and it will become Fe, and it will, what happens in this process, see here it has loosened its Fe electrons, but it has gained here water electrons. So this is where the mixture is happening. So this way it will produce its oxides. So we have oxygen in the water, so it will produce its oxides. So as we discussed earlier, corrosion is just the another form of the same metal, which can be oxides, sulfides, carbonates, like that. So this is why the corrosion happen, and how can we say that a particular metal is undergoing corrosion, or which will undergo the corrosion. So when the metal is exposed to atmospheric gases, moisture or liquid, etc., and the metal surface reacts and forms thermodynamically stable compounds. So even rust is also one of the stable compound, because it is oxide of the iron only. So a particular metal has undergone corrosion means it doesn't mean that metal is wasted or nothing. It is also one of the stable compound only, but with the mixture of the some other elements or some other compounds. Okay, and we'll see now effects of the corrosion. So what are the disadvantages of the corrosion? So wastage of the metal. So what happens whenever the rust or corrosion takes place, that metal can't be reused for the other things. So it again has to undergo some reactions to make sure that the rust is removed, and they try to obtain the pure metal from it. Basically it is very difficult thing to obtain a pure metal from the corroded material. So what happens, this complete wastage of the metal takes place, and the metallic properties like conductivity, malleability, ductility, so all these also will be lost, because it has combined with the some other elements and some other chemicals, and it has formed one of the stable compound. So that stable compound is a mixture of the other things. So what happens, this original metal will lose its all conductivity, malleability and ductility properties. Okay, and lifespan, that means of the metals, if, for example, if a metal without contacting to air and without contacting to the water, so it will be for some years. So whenever the air and water come into contact with that metal, so obviously because of the reactions and because of the compounds that will be formed, it will reduce its lifespan. That means the metal will not withstand for longer days. So the lifespan also will be reduced, and the efficiency also will be reduced. Efficiency is performance. Okay, the performance of the metal also will be reduced, and these are the corrosion causes and effects. Okay, thank you.